and welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. So on today's episode, we are going to head over to the club for ladies' night, and, I don't think I'll get in for free, but you know what? That's fine. And then we'll also, go to the gas station and find like a little earring, I guess, that we found in the ground. That's a little weird, but okay. But we're also going to try to figure out how we can get into our young 20-something body, even though we're in like an older man's body, and it's really weird. Anyway, though, besides all that, though, today, on today's episode, we are going to be covering a little film from 2002 called The Hot Chick. Now, this movie is, I won't say it's near and dear to me or anything, but, I couldn't just do this alone, though. All right. So I decided to bring some guests on with me today to celebrate this movie that, for all intents and purposes, sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But overall, I think it's a fun film, if anything. So you know them for their bylines at Bloody Disgusting, respectively, but also for their wildly popular podcast Horror Queers, still under Bloody Disgusting, where they dissect different horror movies through a queer lens and all of that, have wonderful guests on. But please welcome to my podcast, Joe Lipsett and Trace Thurman. Hello, guys. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. How are you? And thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks. Yeah, we're on Zoom currently right now. We're international here. We got Canada, we got Colorado, and we got Maryland. It's great.
Yes, the countries of Maryland and Colorado.
I know the countries. They are kind of, really, honestly, I don't know. There you go. But we're international here, okay? But yeah, so, I had the lovely distinction and pleasure of being on your guys' podcast after literally emailing you and just saying, hey, can I be on your podcast? So that was cool. But I definitely wanted you guys to come on, because why not? And you actually, both of you decided, I was like, okay, here's what I'm covering, everybody. Like, here's the pending list that I'm going to do or whatever. And I said, just choose whatever you want. Or if you have something you want to suggest, great. And you guys chose The Hot Chick. So like that little meme, America explain, what is this? So I just want to know, I guess you could either answer together or respectively or whatever, why did you decide you wanted to come on to do a Hot Chick episode? And I guess what is your respective histories with this film? Like, when did you see it? What did you think of it? All that kind of stuff. And yeah, just like your little respective histories with it, I'd love to hear about.
Joe, do you have a history with this movie? I feel like this is my doing. Oh, you do?
No. I do.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Go. I want to hear your history.
Okay. So the reason that we picked this as opposed to maybe picking a horror film, which is obviously what we're better known for, is that Trace and I find we often don't get a chance to talk about quote unquote other genres of film. So something like this, where it's a slight, silly, vulgar, kind of offensive comedy that we both like, we thought, well, this is a choice opportunity to come on and talk about it. Now, as for my relationship to this, I saw this in theaters, as I saw nearly every Rob Schneider comedy in theaters. Because my dad and I actually had a long-standing tradition, basically in the mid to late 90s, that we would go and see all the raunchy, gross-out comedies. So we saw like...
The Animal. Did you see The Animal?
Saw The Animal, yeah. We went to all of the American Pie movies together, Road Trip, all that kind of stuff. So like, this was a tradition that my father and I had, is if there was a dumb, raunchy comedy coming out, we went to see it.
Father-son bonding at its best. I love that for you.
Yeah.
Mine, I don't think I saw this in theaters. This was like December of 2002, but I remember seeing the posters for it because it has that iconic image of like, Rob Schneider with the green face mask and like his nipples out. I watched this like so many times though, once it hit DVD. I think my sister and I watched this at least once a month because it was just like, we could not stop laughing. Mm-hmm. But weirdly enough, in the relationship I had with my husband, this was the very first date we ever did. I went over to his apartment, and we were infamously, my husband did not like me whenever we first met. I was a 21-year-old, really sloppy drunk all the time, whatever. But when my husband realized that I liked movies too, and I was really into movies, he kind of like let his guard down a bit. So the first time I ever went over to his place and we had like a little date, he was like, what do you want to watch? And he gave me all these options. And I was like, The Hot Chick. And he was like, I was hoping you would pick The Hot Chick.
Romance.
That is such romance, though. Like, I love that for you guys. I think he did mention, check out last week's episode where Ari guested about Sister Act 2. But yeah, no, I think he did mention that at one point. I was like, oh, that's so adorable for you guys. Good for you.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Joe said, yeah, I just like we never like get invited to talk about non-horror movies. So whenever we get the chance, it's like, yeah, let's talk about like a straight up comedy. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's so cool. And again, that's the kind of freedom I get to have with my pod, at least, where, I mean, of course, I have a bit of a horror slant. I mean, I did your guys' like October watch list stuff and whatever, because why not? You know, I want to feel included. But, you know, but if anything, I literally did your guys' and another ones, and I was watching 2 a day, and that was a lot. But anyway. Boy. It was a lot. I would get home and then I would have to watch 2 movies. And I was like, I'm doing this to myself, but it's fine. But y'all had some good choices. Y'all had some good categories. So it was good. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, of course. But anyway, yeah, my history with this. So as I think I mentioned on the episode we did on your guys' show, you know, I'm a 92 baby. So, you know, I'm a little bit younger. So I was literally 10 when this came out, I guess. So I definitely saw this on DVD. But as Joe said, I mean, like, I definitely obviously I couldn't see the raunchy comedies, like, you know, in the theaters, obviously, but I will say that there was definitely the watching of like this movie, and like I saw Sorority Boys when I was like young.
Oh my god,
like,
yes.
That
movie and this movie are kin.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Holy shit. Like
I will say too, so Sorority Boys, I mean, like, not to diverge too much, but that was a movie where so like we didn't have like, you know, like the movie channels growing up, so we didn't have HBO or whatever. But I remember being at my grandma's house, and like it was either HBO or Showtime, but it shouldn't have it. So you would go to the channel on like the old school TVs, and it would just be like these like blurry like green and purple lines, but you could still hear everything that was going on the channel. So
God, Trace, I love that you're saying, oh, that's how I watched Sorority Boys, and I'm like, yeah, that's how I watched porn.
Exactly, right.
Okay. We definitely didn't have any porn channels, but yeah, no, I watched all of quote unquote all of Sorority Boys by just listening to it.
Oh my god, no,
yes. How do you even envision the dildo fight scene?
It is wild. I will say too, I rewatched that movie a year, maybe 2 years ago. It's not good, but it still made me laugh.
Yes,
it's not
White
good.
Chicks and
oh god,
White Chicks is brilliant.
I mean, honestly, really, truly. I mean, no, but literally, like, it was that hot chick. It was Sorority Boys, White Chicks, Not Another Teen Movie. If you could catch it at 1 a.m. on, you know, Comedy Central, where it was uncensored, that was cool.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. It's amazing. But yeah, so that's what I was. And then I also went on to like watch Drawn Together on, you know, Comedy Central and stuff.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love me some Drawn Together.
Oh, it's so good. God, it was so good. Again, these all of those movies live in like the same neighborhood, I feel like. A little bit. Yeah. But yeah, that's my respective history of it. I mean, really. And also a little tangent, not really, but like if you want to actually listen to a fun episode about Sorority Boys, weirdly enough, go check out This Ends at Prom. They did an episode about Sorority Boys because even though it's a kind of not great movie, Harmony from that show actually kind of likes that and has some interesting viewpoints about it, being a trans woman herself. So I think that was very interesting.
I believe she likes this one too.
Oh yeah, I could get it. I would love to hear their little episode on it too. That would be. I want to hear what people have to say about this, especially with and we can get a little bit into it. Again, we are 3 gay, white, cis men. So, you know, but of course we can definitely kind of read into what the queerness of this and even the transness of it in a way, because I think it's there, whether it's, I think it's unintentional a little bit, but I feel like it's there. So, but we'll do that later on in the conversation. But that's my respective history with it. And thank you for sharing yours as well, of course. But as we normally do on the show, you know, we're going to go through some of the production history of the movie, talk about the cast and crew, things like that, all that good stuff. And then again, we're just going to have a nice, fun, free-flowing conversation. Without further ado, let's move into that. So, in particular, this movie, The Hot Chick, was released December 13th of 2002. So it is celebrating, as of you're hearing it today, its 21st birthday. So it gets to go out and have shots later, I guess, which is cool. So it's about a 104-minute runtime. So really, it's like a little over 90 minutes without credits, I guess, which is cool. And it was a Go ahead, Trace.
I was surprised though, because like the runtime on mine was like an hour 45, and I was like, that seems. This seems like it should be an 88-minute movie, but I will say
too.
This flies by for me. I actually don't mind the runtime at all.
True. We have the distributor as Buena Vista Pictures Distribution. I guess also maybe Touchstone too. So this technically is a Disney movie, which is it is very interesting, and it says a lot.
Jessica is a Disney princess.
It kind of is. I mean, truly. And then $34 million budget that we're looking at with this.
Which
wild.
I know.
I have to believe a large chunk of that was Rob Schneider. Like, he wasn't Jim Carrey levels, but I wonder if he was getting big paydays for these movies.
Oh, probably. Mm-hmm. Well, and also too, just like the beginning part, like the opening sequence, I was like, there was some production put into that. Like, what the hell?
I'm fairly certain the opening of this movie was just like the set design was just lifted from the opening of Wishmaster.
I mean, probably.
It's got Universal Studios backlot, some piece of shit movie that they were just like, put in a phone this and we're good to shoot.
Oh my God.
And then they went to Party City to get the costumes for the women.
Yes.
You know what, though? It's fine.
Yes, it is fine. This movie does not think it's a genius. I mean, it thinks it's funny. It thinks it's stupid, but it doesn't think it's high art at all.
I appreciate that about it, though, too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so opening weekend ranking gross for this, it came at number 4, made about $2,598,364. Wow. So that was its opening. Good. Domestically, it made about $35 million. $81,594, so domestically. And then internationally, it made $19,557,959 for wherever it went internationally, I guess. I'm an idiot. Does domestic gross also include Canada?
Yes.
It does, yes.
Okay, cool. And then also worldwide gross, so that means it made about $54,639,553. So in all intents and purposes, this wasn't a total flop, but it's not like it was gangbusters either.
I think it must have done like really well on like video rental services. Services so like at Blockbuster and like local mom and pop shops, because I feel like I remember everyone my age was talking about this movie whenever it came out.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, and 2002, right? That is the prime era of DVD rentals and sales. Like, I can't recall if this had an unrated version. Obviously, we're going to talk about the fact that there is an R cut that they cut down to get a PG-13 rating. But you have to assume that they would have been like, put in a couple of extra dick jokes and a fuck, and let's get an unrated cut out there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
They didn't, and I would have gladly watched that version too.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So then Rotten Tomatoes looking at 21% with about 82 reviews on it from critics, and then 59% from the audiences for about 250,000 ratings of people who just have come through and rated it. So, it seems to be at least a somewhat favorite against some audiences, I guess, which is cool. And then
almost everything you're saying about this movie is like this caveat. I guess people like this movie. I guess I didn't pick this movie. My guest picked this movie.
No, it's literally just like because it is split. Like critics, I think hated.
Critics hated this movie.
That was stupid.
But they always did. They hated all of these kinds of movies.
Yeah, and the dichotomy of the fact that like it's a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, but then also it's a 59% of like audiences. It's like, obviously some people liked it. I do promise I do tend to like this movie. It's just not a super favorite of mine. That's all.
You don't have to like this movie. I'm just
again, there's certain things that work. And we'll get into why this movie only works for me so much. But it's a 2.5, 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd as well.
Yeah. See, coming in rated around 50% makes sense to me. Yeah. I think, we've talked a lot about aggregate scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and people always take it as, under 30% is like, this movie's an absolute piece of shit. And it's like, no, it just means that a bunch of people would not recommend it.
Right.
And that's the thing, right? Like 30% of those critics would still recommend this movie. So it's like, unless it's a 0%, like you're not the outlier.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're not Fire Island that had Jonathan Bennett in it. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, let's be real here.
Wait, I'm sorry. Was Jonathan Bennett in Fire Island? Was there another Fire Island movie with Jonathan Bennett?
Yes, there was another Fire Island that was a horror movie. And Jonathan Bennett was in it. I don't know if he's credited or not. It was on Showtime. And it's kind of, but you know what's funny is that it's not the Fire Island that's like the Pride and Prejudice one with like
yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Not that one.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Joe.
God.
This Fire Island, by the way, is a movie that came out this year.
Oh,
It did.
No.
No.
And guess who the other male lead in it is?
Oh no.
Connor
Who?
Paolo.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, I feel like you'll be disappointed, Joe, but go for it.
Oh,
Do
I'm
it.
sure it'll be awful, but I mean, hey, like, now Trace and I can cover it because it's not Jonathan Benedict.
Hell yes.
Now I'm
please
really
do.
curious about this.
Also,
Well, there you go.
For the record, Connor Paolo got hot, so like I guess I'll watch him in a bunch of things now.
He was always hot, even in Gossip Girl.
I don't
good
like
for
twinks,
that.
and you do. It's a difference.
Oh yeah,
of
that's
opinion.
true. That's true.
Yeah, well, listen. Anyways, so yeah, but that's what we're looking at for this. And again, I promise I do somewhat like this movie. It's cool. And
Jesse,
again,
you don't have to apologize.
no, it's all good. Anyway, so when we're looking at the cast and crew of this film, we have kind of it's a little bit all over the place with who's in it, I guess, really. Because you have Tom Brady. I thought he was a football player, but I guess he also directs movies.
Can you
Obviously,
imagine if
that
it was
whole
one and the
joke.
same? How
Can you
hilarious would that
imagine?
have been?
That would have been great, actually. And it would make total sense, probably. Really. Let's be real. But no, this guy, Tom Brady, if you look at his IMDb profile, he is one of those directors that thinks super highly of himself because he wrote his own IMDb biography.
Oh,
Know it. No, if you look at it, it's just like all these things. This guy apparently went to Harvard at one point. I guess he literally graduated from it. He talks about how he had all these different jobs.
Well, it's because he got a BA in English. And what do you do with a BA in English?
Teacher, you
that's
write.
True. That's true. You write your own IMDb biography. If you want to enjoy it, enjoy yourself by just, it's a trip. It's really funny, actually. But he is the guy who wrote this film with Rob Schneider, but he also wrote The Animal again, which I think he also wrote with Rob Schneider. The Critic, which I guess he worked on some of the show The Critic, and he also worked on some of the Simpsons episodes too. So that's what so actually, when I really think about it, if he is also directing some of these episodes of like The Critic and The Simpsons, it makes sense that we would get the hot chick. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of.
I mean, you're forgetting his other amazing directorial efforts. The football comedy, The Comebacks, and Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, this is a Happy Madison connection, right?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so that's Tom Brady for that. Again, he and Rob Schneider both wrote this. So, of course, I believe, wrote The Animal together, and they also did Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo as well, which I'm also sure. I'm also sure.
I feel like, because I know Rob Schneider was a SNL person, but like I feel like Deuce Bigelow is what shot him to like fame, right?
Yeah.
Like people knew who he was, but that was like, oh, that's the funny movie.
It was his first standalone, I think, that he got.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the director, that's the writer, all of this. Our composer, I was talking off mic with Trace about it. So John Debney did the music for this. Now, in my little list I have, he's the guy who composed Hocus Pocus, The Princess Diaries, Dick with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams, Heartbreakers, which is another Trace's favorite.
I love Heartbreakers. Joe loves Heartbreakers too.
Yes.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Jennifer Love Hewitt's there. Sigourney Weaver's there. It's great. And then also Elf. But again, Trace, please repeat what you said earlier about that.
He also scored the one of the best parts of the movie, the score for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yes, he did.
Wild. But we've discovered this, right? Like horror and comedy shares a lot of people, and I think particularly composers. So
yeah,
composers and editors, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And then our cinematographer is Tim Surstedt, I believe his name is. I'm horrible with some last names, depending on how complicated they are. But he has had a prolific kind of cinematography career. He actually started, fun fact, he's a Baltimore boy, so I love that. So there's that, but also he started his cinematography career by doing Mark Rossman's The House on Sorority Row, actually. He was a cinematographer for that.
He also shot Critters. Oh my God.
He shot Critters. He did Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. favorite.
That's a classic.
It's so good.
The Wedding Singer, aka one of the best rom-coms of all time. Also Happy
And like
Madison.
legitimate, not even with the caveat, if you don't like Adam Sandler, blah, blah, blah. It's like probably his best non-serious performance. Well, one of them.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't have like the whole like, oh, for an Adam Sandler movie, it's pretty good. It's just a genuinely good movie.
Right. Office Space, Mike Judge's Office Space. He also shot that, and he also shot my love of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as well. So, oh God, yeah, love them. So then. Also, editor for this movie is Peck Pryor. He actually edited I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
So there we go.
There you go. But he also did Uncle Buck as well with, is that John Candy? I think it was.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. And I just have in my notes bad parody movies because he edited Vampire Sucks, Disaster Movie, insert adjective here movie.
Let's not hold this against him, shall we?
Let's not. You need to check. I get it, but that's what he did. But I'm just saying, those are like the notable people that I have at least right now. Of course, there's all sorts of other crew members that are a part of this. And we can also talk a little bit about just Happy Madison in general once we get through the cast as well. Because, Happy Madison is crazy. And they have output that is sometimes good and sometimes real bad. But,
Yeah.
But our main actor in this movie, who, he's on all the posters pretty much and everything, is Rob Schneider, who is certifiably a piece of shit now, apparently. Yeah. Why is he a piece of shit again? Enlighten me. Tell me.
He's very anti-vax. So during the pandemic, there's a lot of that stuff going on. I think that's honestly the bulk of it, but he's very, very, very vocal. He also switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party at some point in the early 2010s.
Oh no, it's like the PJ Souls of it all. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's very upsetting. So he's trash. But I will say, if anything, I think that's partly kind of my hesitation with this movie a little bit, is like there's parts that he's like good in, right? And then I'm like, okay. This movie that I'm like, okay, cool. And then there's parts where I'm just like, oh, why are we doing that? Oh dear. But
I feel like that's an encapsulation of this entire film, though. Like some of these things are so funny, and then other things are just like, I'm cringing, I'm dying inside.
And it's interesting too, because I to see how some of this stuff would have played in 2002 versus today. I will say, I probably haven't watched this in about 5 years, but I was a little worried to go back and be like, okay, how offensive is it?
Yeah, completely.
Truthfully, there's a lot of offensive stuff in this movie, but I also
it was offensive back then. Let's be real. We laughed at it. We implicitly acknowledged that it was misogynistic and racist. And it's just that we were, I think, more tolerant of it. Whereas nowadays you would get called out to the point that you probably just wouldn't write some of these jokes.
But at the same time, though, I didn't find this as offensive as I was expecting it to be on a rewatch. And maybe it's because I do think the movie has a big goofy heart on it. Which helps kind of counteract some of those more harsh edges.
Agreed. Yeah. But before we get into all of that, we got to finish the cast, though. But I totally agree, though. Yeah. Also, I would like to admit that I sometimes get this gentleman, Rob Schneider, and Pauly Shore mixed up every so often. Sometimes, depending. So there's that. But also my actual facial blindness I had that I don't actually have, but I had for this guy. I legit thought Mark Webber, you know who he is? He's the lead in Snow Day. You ever see that movie?
Okay.
Okay, so he was the lead in that. He was in Green Room. He was one of the Nazi guys in Green Room.
Okay. He's also he's in Scott Pilgrim.
Yes. So I thought him and shout out Joe, Canada. I thought him and Brendan Fletcher were legitimately the same person for an embarrassingly long time. Y'all know who Brendan Fletcher is?
He's the guy in Freddy vs. Jason, right?
Yes, and also the Ginger Snap sequels.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Weber right now, and I'm like, oh, that looks like that guy from Freddy vs. Jason.
Legitimately, that was my facial blindness. So thank God I was like, oh yeah, because I don't know if I ever told anybody or whatever. I'm like, did you know the guy who was in this movie, the Freddy vs. Jason, was also in Snow Day? And they would have been like, Jesse, you're an idiot. What? No, but I don't think I ever said that to anybody, but I thought it for a while. because that's me. Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know. Thank God you guys look different. Otherwise, I would just be calling you each other's names, really, at this point.
People
I mean,
always
people
think
do
we're
it
the
all the
opposite.
time.
Yeah, but people always think we're the opposite, though. People think that I'm like when they see like on our logo for our podcast, people think that I'm Joe and Joe is me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey. Also, you have that like cute little like blue guy in the background who's like in the closet, so that's fun.
Well, that's the killer from Knife Plus Heart.
Oh, was it? I always wondered
Yeah.
what that was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cute. Loved it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's Rob Schneider. I mean, one of the MVPs of this film that I think she's not in it much.
Yeah.
However, she makes an impression is Rachel fucking McAdams.
Mhm.
Canada, shout out.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I love how it's introducing Rachel McAdams at the end.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Go ahead.
I mean, what? Because The Notebook is what the next year. That's 2003,
The next year,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish she did more movies. That's why like Game Night was what 2018. Like I wish she did more wacky comedies like this because she's such a comedic talent.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I
she's
think
so
a
good.
lot of this movie works because it does have a very strong physical comedy element, and a lot of Rachel McAdams' performance is just using her body in a very unorthodox way, right? Because of course she's meant to be more mannish, and just watching her stomp around is so funny to me.
She like moves she carries her shoulders. I will say, like, I think Rachel McAdams does a better performance as like Rob Schneider's version than Rob Schneider does as her, because Rob Schneider plays his role like more of a gay man than he does Rachel McAdams' character.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Totally. I mean, yeah, she was in like a little Canadian movie before this and like a little independent movie. So they probably weren't even paying attention to that. They were just like introducing. And then literally the next year, like she was literally in two of like arguably the biggest movies of that year. Like pretty much like it was literally Mean Girls and Notebook. Those weren't anything to sneeze at that time. So it's like, she had a good 2004, man. And she still had a good. And she's also like, listen, I have a bag and I'm going to choose roles that I want, like being the mom and There Are You Got It To Me, Margaret. Like, that's great. I love that for her.
Shit. I mean, yeah. So her 2004 is Mean Girls in the Notebook, and then her 2005 is Wedding Crashers, Red Eye, and The Family Stone.
That's true.
Yeah.
All of which different things. People really like Red Eye, especially in the horror community. I don't know if everyone loves The Family Stone. It kind of depends, but
I was going to say that one is the divisive one.
Joe, you still haven't seen Family Stone, have you, Joe?
I have not. I have just heard everything about it.
I kind of want to watch that with you just to see how you react to it, because I have no idea if you're going to like it or hate it.
Yeah, true. Anyway, so then, I mean, again, she's the MVP of the movie, but this girl is also the MVP of this movie. And also, it's no secret that you two love her as well. And I also co-sign on that too, is Miss Anna Faris. City the TV's leaking. I mean,
she almost runs away with this movie.
No, she
fully
does. Fucking does.
This
movie doesn't work
really
if she's not in it.
Oh, completely. Like, oh my God. And like, literally, it was like, obviously, I've never seen Lover Lane, so I don't really know. But like, it was like scary movie. May I kind of count because also she was in that, but like again, but yeah, I mean, like I think a lot of people knew her from this and Scary Movie because again, I don't think everyone watched May, so that's just me, except I was when I was a kid. But anyway, yeah, no, totally. God, she's so good in this movie, and it makes me hate Chris Pratt that much more. So
yeah, well, at least she's out of that trap.
There we go. Yeah,
there you go.
She got away.
She's thriving. It's like Katie Holmes or something. Oh, it's great. Love it.
Her podcast is also very funny.
It is. And she has like really candid interviews with her guests too. It's like, yeah.
Amazing. Like, I really want to watch Mom. I feel like Trace Mom, I feel like is a show you've watched. So
I definitely watched all 8 seasons of Mom.
Yeah.
Mom is it's interesting because Anna Faris plays the straight woman in that show.
Right. It's Elson Janney who's the wacky one, right?
Yeah, but I will say though, like as people who wrote off that show, it's just like a silly Chuck Lorre CBS laugh track sitcom, which it is that. After like the second season, like they get rid of Anna Faris's kids, like they ship them off to like the dad, and it becomes just about her, Allison Janney, her mom, and their Alcoholics Anonymous support group of women. So it's like it becomes a show about older, like middle-aged women and older women. But it's there's a lot of nuanced stuff in there that is like really serious and funny. So I would recommend checking out Mom. Just get past that first season or two.
Yeah, sure. That's fair. That's very fair. But yeah, Anna Faris, amazing. She is April in this movie. Love it.
April!
April! Matthew Lawrence is in this movie. He is
He's so cute in this movie.
So cute.
God,
he has
he's so
nothing
cute.
to do, and he only does what's asked of him. But
Yep.
as the love interest who just needs to be hot, A+.
Yeah.
A+. I do like Matt Lawrence. He is somebody who he gives me like undercover religious vibes a little bit, but
sure.
Yeah, no, totally. He gives me that Melissa Joan Hart a little bit, where I feel like I don't think he hates the gays, right?
He
But,
just probably doesn't love us either.
Wait, didn't he have a show with Melissa Joan Hart, or was that one of the other Lawrence brothers?
No, it's one of the other Lawrence brothers.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Right. But it's Melissa and Joey Lawrence. But Matthew Lawrence did guest star on it for 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll take it.
They got a podcast that's run by Christy Carlson Romano. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so
wow.
they do. Anyway, but yeah, he gives me those types of vibes. That's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's a Melissa Joan Hart of it all. Like, I don't think she hates the gays, but like, and I don't think she dislikes them. I'm just like, I just think she's like indifferent and everything. It's not the Candace Cameron, obviously. Thank God.
Yeah,
but,
like if we made this movie 10 years later, his role would have been played by Dave Franco.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
And it would have been rated R.
There we go.
Completely. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he's Mrs. Doubtfire, Boy Meets World, all the things he did with his brothers, things like that. So that's what he is. What the hell is his name again? I don't even remember. Wow.
Billy,
I think. Yeah. Billy. God. Also, Eric
left with you and I had the cheese.
Oh my God, no. This is also right around that whole Catholic Church thing. Jesus Lord. Anyway, so Eric Christian Olsen, who also is in Not Another Teen Movie, which I just think is really funny with this. He was also
basically playing the same role, only
no, literally.
One is meant to be a parody.
Yeah.
No, literally, actually. Like, it's so like, and he doesn't have much to do, but it's fine. I thought for a minute he was the guy in the club that like they fight, but he wasn't. That was not him. Also, Lulu is her character name, but I love her so much, is Alexandra Holden. Alexandra Holden, if you ever listen, I love you, and I hope you're okay.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, because I know it's not Lindy Booth, because I always get her confused with Lindy Booth, who's the redhead in like Wrong
looks like
Turn.
her.
Not
her. Joe, do you know what we know her from?
I mean, I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry for her, and I'm just like, yes. All of these movies are great.
She's the anorexic girl in Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah. Who are you? Is in my notes. Who are you? Yeah. She's also in How to Deal. She's in Dead End. She is in Sugar and Spice. She was on Friends. Alexandra Holden, I love you. I hope you're doing okay. Wonderful, great. Again, not much to do, but she is notable in this, especially if anybody likes Drop Dead Gorgeous. Maybe they saw this movie, they were like, oh, I know her. She's great. And then also we gotta give it up for the man, the myth, the legend that is Robert Davey, who, I mean, really, I think this needs to be in, some sort of it must be weird not having one come on you.
Indeed.
It's great.
It's so funny because my introduction to him was on Profiler. Like, I was a very insulated child. I didn't leave my parents' house very often. So I had this like trifecta of like genre shows that I would watch either on ABC or NBC, depending on any given year. And he was like the boss on Profiler, which was one of those original, like, I'm really good at profiling serial killers, and then they try to murder me and my family every season show. And he's like her battle-scarred boss, and he was always so good.
Love that. Yeah. I mean, he's a good actor. He plays April's dad in this movie. I don't know who plays April's mom, but
oh my God.
She's a secret MVP, by the way.
Melora Hardin. Yeah.
No. Melora Hardin is Rachel McAdams' mom. April's mom is the one who's like, look at April's soap.
Yes. Layla Kenzie? No.
Yes.
Layla Kenzie. There we go.
Yeah, that is her. Yeah. You right. And then some other people as well. Like you said, Melora Hardin. She's Jessica's mom. So she's been in like The Office, Monk, Transparent, things like that.
Sorry. April's mom, though, most famous. She's in like over 100 episodes of Mad About You.
Yes. We also have a throwaway / not you would blink if you missed them cameo by the Maori sisters. Great.
Mhm.
Lovely.
Okay, but
As
like,
well as like Ashley Simpson, Jenna Dewan, Michelle Branch.
yes, Ashley Simpson, I called like right away because we at
Me
least
too.
get we get lines from her, but I did not spot Jenna Dewan or
No.
Michelle Branch.
She's one of the dancers in the club. She's credited as Bianca's salsa girl.
hmm
So,
Oh man, that Bianca girl too. So speaking of the physical comedy, her getting tackled by those security guards is like A+ comedy.
Yes.
I mean, yes. Yeah, who else is there? And then Jodie Long, of course. She is most well known for some people. She's in this movie. I did think for a minute she was Rosalind Chow from Freaky Friday, but she is not. They're different people. Fine. But she is actually the mom from the Margaret Cho sitcom All American Girl. So that's what people would know her from. That was back in the day.
Well, when we're talking about racism, I think this might be the most offensive character in the movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Bling
yeah.
bling.
You forgot your bling bling.
That's a pretty good line, though. I'm not
I
gonna
love
lie,
it.
but it's oh god. Anyway, but yeah, so that's our cast we got. Again, some heavy hitters in here. Like I there's some notes, I'm sure, but I do think like for this kind of movie, absolutely. Like I think there's some heavy hitters in here, which I really do appreciate. But yeah, so in regards to any sort of production history, I don't have much of that because I can't find much of it online. Basic idea you need to know is they decided to make this movie. This is like a part of a body swap movie thing going on. Yeah, I mean, like this movie, like just joins that. Talk a little bit about body swap movies if we want to, while I look up a little bit about Happy Madison. Do you guys have a favorite body swap movie by any chance that's not this?
I actually think mine is Freaky Friday, specifically the
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis one. Like, I've seen every
It's really
version of
good.
Freaky Friday, but that one to me is like, yeah, I think that's probably my favorite one.
I kind of co-sign on that too. Joe?
Yeah, I'd probably say that one too. But I wonder how much of this is also we saw this at a specific point in our life. Like Freaky Friday was
True.
such a huge movie that it felt like it just dominated cultural conversation for a period of time. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun.
I mean, because I remember, like, because they used to show the Jodie Foster one on the Disney Channel a lot when I was growing up, and then in the late '90s they had it was the Disney Channel movie with Gabby Hoffman and Shelley Long, which is really cute. But
Yes.
man, there's something about that Lindsay Lohan one. I just think it's the funniest out of all of them.
It's so funny, and it's so funny. It's so good. I also give honorable mention to check it out on the show before, but Wish Upon a Star with Daniel Harris and Katherine Heigl.
Oh, I do like Wish. Speaking of, have you seen that one, Joe?
I've not seen it, no.
Oh my god! I mean, it's a Disney Channel movie, so like,
Sure.
make of it what you will. But yeah,
But
it's
not a decom.
No. It wasn't a correct. It wasn't one of those like Wonderful World of Disney's ones that we did on every Saturday night on ABC. Yeah, that's a good movie. I haven't seen it in years, but
It's nice. It's very accessible. You can find it for free most places, so it's really easy to find, and it's really fun to see baby Danielle Harris and baby Katherine Heigl. It's pretty good
because Katherine Heigl's like the princess, like older teenage daughter, but then Danielle Harris is like the goth punk one.
Yeah, and then they switch bodies. It's a whole thing. The brother from Night of the Demons is Katherine Heigl's boyfriend. It's a whole thing. It was made by the same guy who did that and also Phantom in the Megaplex on Disney Channel. But also, have you ever seen that Little Secrets or Little Lies with Evan Rachel Wood? If you know that movie, he also directed that. So yeah, Blair True, love him. Made some fun movies. But yeah, so body swap. I mean, there's that. You don't have to check out It's a Boy Girl Thing ever at all.
Is that Kevin Zegers?
Yeah, it is Kevin Zegers and that other chick.
I love him.
I do too, and he was like was he in Frozen? He might have been in that movie.
Yeah,
Kevin Zegers, he was absolutely in Frozen, yes.
He absolutely in Frozen. Love that. Sean Ashmore and that other chick. Also, fun little fact, if you didn't already know, you said Lindy Booth earlier. Did you know that Rachel McAdams and Lindy Booth had worked together before this movie? They were on The Famous Chet Jackson together for an episode.
Jesus,
Rachel McAdams played a bulimic.
Didn't he die?
Really?
He died. He died of suicide, unfortunately.
Oh,
but
Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Okay.
he did. He did. Again, not to bring the room down. It's just true. It's real. But but no, that actually was a really cool show, and it was really interesting. It was made by a Black person. Had a Black lead in it. Really, really cool. Kind of one of the first things that Disney ever did with like that, really. And because I think it was shot in Canada, like everything.
Probably, yeah.
That's why Lindy Booth is in it. But yeah, Rachel McAdams played her bulimic sister. That happened for an episode. Yep. So it's just funny. And then also Lindy Booth's in like Cry_Wolf and like
Cry_Wolf. That's one I actually would love to revisit. I haven't seen Cry Wolf since theaters.
Me neither. Yeah, I have not fond memories of it, but it's one of those things where the curiosity factor is large.
I just remember hating the ending because spoiler, but it's that April Fool's Day ending where it's like none of it's real, and I hated it. And so I wonder if I watch it again, knowing that if I might like it more.
Yeah.
Sure. Like that Hellraiser movie.
Sure.
Wow. Okay. I guess, were you not a fan of the remake that they made?
Oh no, we quite liked the remake. We're talking of really any of the sequels past.
Oh, got it. Okay. Fair enough. That's fair. Don't watch a boy girl thing. It's really bad. Sharon Osbourne's there for some reason. I don't know why. The one person who I think is like kind of good at it is Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek. Mm-hmm. Again, Canadian. Mm-hmm. But I've just God, Jesus. Anyway, and then also throw in Freaky there too a little bit. Love some Freaky.
That's a body swap movie. I don't think it is a little bit.
It's an interesting thing because it's kind of like a little bit like the Hot Chick because it's a man and it's like a little grown man and a girl switching bodies.
There were a lot of comparisons to the Hot Chick, I think, when that came out.
Yes.
Mostly, and that's what we were saying. Like, oh, what would this film look like if it was made today? And I definitely think that Freaky is less offensive than this movie.
Completely.
Yes.
It's also made for the horror crowds. There you go. But it joins that pantheon of that. I don't have much to say about like Happy Madison. I don't know if you guys have any sort of thing to shine on that. I mean, really, it just came from the fact that Adam Sandler is a celebrity. He made some movies. He decided to capitalize on the fact that he was popular and make movies centered around characters of his.
I will say this: when it comes to Adam Sandler, his movie output is up and down, mostly down. A lot of times, especially with these Netflix movies, he's given millions of dollars to take a bunch of his friends on vacation and make a movie like when they happen to be on vacation. I respect that. I actually really like him as a person, and I do think he's a really good actor because his dramatic work I think is excellent.
Even how do you think of him as Mambuzo Bongo guy in this movie?
Exactly, his uncredited role.
I'm gonna imagine, Joe, that this did not work for you, but
no, it did. I found it funny every fucking time.
Every time.
It's so stupid. That's what
you
makes
can put your weed in there.
Oh, it's so good.
But I will say, I mean, look, I watch a lot of Adam Sandler. I haven't seen Grown Ups or anything, and I haven't seen like probably some of the worst of the worst. But like back in this heyday, like I mean, I think Little Nicky was like the death knell of like his movies because that's probably the worst of that chunk of things. But when he puts heart in his movies, and the two ones I'm thinking of specifically are The Waterboy and The Wedding Singer, I think it can make it like really like elevate the material.
That's fair.
First Dates.
Oh yeah, 50 First Dates is good. I will say for more recent ones, like I actually do like the murder mystery movies. Like they're inessential, like not very substantial like films, but they're fun to watch. And I think he has excellent chemistry with Jennifer Aniston, which I never would have expected before having seen that movie.
Right.
I will co-sign, or rather, I'm co-signing myself. I will recommend his new one that he made with his entire fucking family. You are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. It's very funny. It's cute
because his daughter is like the lead in that, right?
It's both his daughters and his wife is in it.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a family business, man. I'm not going to be mad at you for it.
But nevertheless, I mean, I love Happy Gilmore too. Happy Gilmore is great, but like, it's a thing where it's like he's not trying to make high art. He's trying to have fun with his friends and make money out of it. And you know what? I kind of respect that.
Sure,
I do chase them. I can get it. Yeah, it's funny because like this and the House Bunny are not the same. Obviously, I actually think the House Bunny and Sydney White are actually a little bit more similar.
But House Bunny's Happy Madison, isn't it?
Happy Madison, yep, yeah, and Sydney White was just a random thing with Amanda Bynes, but
I know what Sydney White is.
it has a similar DNA to the House Bunny that does.
Sydney White and her 7 dorks.
Boy.
I love it. I loved it though. I kind of really
really
liked
fun.
it.
I love that wave of What a Girl Wants, like all those Amanda
all
Bynes
the Amanda
movies.
Bynes movies are great. People just want to shit on them because they don't know how to have fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
completely. Oh, absolutely. And Sydney Way is actually not, and it's actually a secret like fuck fascist movie kind of a thing. Which is kind of cool too. Yeah, go check out that.
Sarah Paxton's the bad girl, right?
She is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. The one guy who was in I Love You, Beth Cooper, not the guy, but his friend is in it.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
That is a terrible fucking movie.
It's so true.
Awful book, awful movie.
I was going to say, you covered your podcast, didn't you?
I have. It was one of the films where I was like, I don't know if I can get through this. It's so fucking bad.
Also, add Christopher Columbus on there.
Yeah.
Jesus. He's the least inspired director. Oof.
Yeah.
That sucks. He made Rent, everybody. Remember that. Just remember that.
Home Alone, Harry Potter 1 and 2. Like he makes movies that make a lot of money, but they're not necessarily always good.
No.
Right. Ooh, Adventures of Babysitting. Again, great movie, but still like.
But like you don't remember the direction in any of those films.
Absolutely not. You remember that duster. You remember that duster, and Anthony Rapp is there, and Keith Coogan's there.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Anyway, so we talked a little bit about just like I don't have much production history. You can pick up the DVD for $6 on Amazon and listen to his commentary if you want, I guess. If you really want to.
I kind of want to know if he's an asshole or not, just to hear his commentary. I want to see what he thinks about this movie.
Right.
Sure. Back from like 2002.
Can you imagine though if you're listening and he plays it the same way that he writes this IMDb page where it's like, oh yes, we approach this with the utmost intent to make high odds.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, that'd be kind of hilarious actually. But yeah, no, I think there's that. I mean, this is obviously shot in LA. This school that was used, they used two different high schools, if I'm not mistaken. One of them is the 90210 school, I'm pretty sure. Lovely. Doing the research and development right now. It's not the Buffy school, I know that much, but I know that the hell is the school? Because it's actually, and apparently it's different now though too. That's fun. So yeah, one of them was Torrance High School and the other one was El Segundo High School. So these are both, this is school podcast now. It's fine though. I do like finding out, like, especially like high school set schools, like where else did they use these at? So anyway, but yeah, so for Torrance High School, it's the Buffy school. Okay, yeah, it is the it's the TV school. It's the TV Buffy school, not the movie Buffy school.
Right.
It's also the 90210 school. It's the Not Another Teen Movie school. She's on that school.
So I guess that guy just like stayed.
Which one? Which one you had to watch?
Oh, none of the Teen Movies. Like, we've mentioned it like 3 times in this recording. I'm just going to go watch that after this.
Hey, listen, it's because at least one guy was in it. I'm just saying. It's the Cursed School, the Whatever It Takes school. Okay. That's fair. It's fair. So that's at least one of the schools they shot at. And then the other one was the Babysitter School, I guess, from the Netflix show, the movies. Oh, it's also the Superbad School. Okay, fair enough. That's fair. Oh, it's the Rock and Roll High School School and also the Teaching Miss Tingle School. So those are your little fun facts, is that 2 of the high schools that they used are just other high schools that aren't university high school. So I also love how on the IMDb trivia, there is like... somebody just went in there and just was like, they just decided to go off. And they were just saying like, this person was considered for the role of Jessica. And it's just like literally like
every actress.
It's very funny. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't believe that probably. Although I will say with that guy who did the director who did his own biography, he does say in his little like fun facts or whatever that he noticed the talent of Rachel McAdams out of hundreds of audition tapes and he cast her in the Hot Chick. So I mean, he must have done something right, I guess.
That's someone you want to keep on your casting team.
Yeah,
sure, there you go.
Also, I'm sure he didn't actually have a casting agent who probably did the hard work.
Yeah.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Buena Vista helped him a little bit. I don't know, but I am surprised this wasn't a Canadian thing. But you know, not everything has to go to Canada, I guess. But you know,
sometimes we venture south of the border.
Every so often, it's nice to do so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, so we talked a little bit about just like Happy Madison, you know, all that kind of stuff since they produced this movie. But I will give you a task to do. So, if you had to explain this movie to somebody who's never seen it before, you could either do this together or separately. How would you describe this movie to somebody who's never watched it before?
Ooh, I could probably try this. So this is a body swap movie where Rachel McAdams plays Jessica. She is basically Regina George from Mean Girls. And then she steals a pair of magical Egyptian earrings and trades bodies with Rob Schneider's Clive, who is a petty thief. And then we spend, what is it, like the next week or so, basically trying to get her back into her body before the next full moon, during which time it will become permanent. And also maybe have a lesbian relationship with Anna Faris.
Maybe being the key word there.
Like, again, if this movie was made 10 years later, they absolutely would have made it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a wonderful plot summary. I don't know if you could top that, Trace. I mean,
nope, I can't. So that's it.
Oops. Oh well. So too bad, so sad. But yeah, no, it absolutely. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, don't have to go beat by it or anything. Yeah, it's a body swap. These people swap bodies, and hilarity ensues. Pretty much that's what happens. But yeah, I think if anything, like, I mean, we're not going to dig into every single character or whatever, but I guess if we want to talk a little bit about, I guess, what are your feelings on some of these characters? So if you start with like Jessica, how do you feel about Jessica as a character?
I mean, Jessica's awesome. It's a thing where you see the talents of Rachel McAdams, like, from minute one, and you kind of want her to be in the movie more often. So thank God we have Anna Faris to balance that out. But yeah, I think that Jessica's fantastic. And it's also like, she's a bitch, like she's a bully, but it's like the interactions with her cross-dressing brother, who I think is, I think that's just a really sweet moment that, like, I wouldn't have expected that from this cast of creators, I guess, in this type of movie.
Right. Yeah, it's a tricky thing because I think this actually plays even better now than it would have then. I imagine that there'd be a lot of people laughing at this younger brother character, but the reality is that the interactions that Jessica has with him, as well as her father, prove to us over the course of the film that she actually is a good person. She's just putting on this bitch facade. And of course, that's what this movie is really about. It's a coming of age narrative where we learn that Jessica is not the cunt we thought she was.
Actually, that's a question I have for both of you then. So do you think the intent with the little brother, are we in 2002, where is it like, oh, we're laughing at this kid?
Yes,
but do you think
absolutely.
That was the Okay. Because today, like watching it today, and I'm like, oh, this isn't funny. Like, look at this kid being his true self.
It's progressive.
Yeah, it plays progressive when it was meant to be the butt of a joke in 2002.
It does, and I really do like, actually. Now that you say that, I do like that. Like, you see, because I've definitely done that. Where, like, you know, if I was trying on, like, I have a story about that I'll save for another time on another podcast because it's very specific to a specific type of movie. Anyway, I've definitely done that where I grew up with women pretty much. And so, you know, I definitely have had an experience like that where someone caught me, you know, like cross-dressing a little bit. Anyway, but it was never a bad thing or anything like that, you know, but I do like, to your point, Trace, like, I like that it's not seen as like a look how gay this kid is, right? It's more so just like, no, Jessica actually cares about her little brother and like is nice to him, even outside of her being just like a bitch to other people that she can have quote control over, and all of that.
Yeah, like I think of the sibling relationship in a movie like Bring It On, which is the year before this, and Kirsten Dunst and her younger brother, who admittedly is older, but it's ironically enough the main guy from Not Another Teen Movie.
It is.
And like that relationship is foul. Those two teenagers absolutely fucking hate each other. Whereas here, and maybe it's just the age difference, but you really get the sense that, oh yeah, like these two have each other's back. The fact that they just lie for each other to their parents throughout the entire film, that's what you want to see in a YA movie, which I do consider this to be, because it's usually teenagers versus adults.
I agree. Yeah, I can see this as a YA movie. I mean, shit, it got cut down to a PG-13 movie. So really, if you were 13 in 2002, you could go and see it. So Yeah, that makes sense in my book. Yeah, no, totally. And I also just like how, again, this is a Happy Madison movie, so whether it's deep or not, can be argued. But I do kind of like that there is a bit of an arc with Jessica, that she goes from being this kind of like mean girl bitch and whatever to, she is being nice to the people she normally wouldn't be nice to. And she's trying to figure out a way to get back into her body and all of that kind of fun stuff. I didn't read all of it, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to really read over it. But if you want to look up, Far From Professional did a think piece. I just looked up the hot chick think piece, if there was one out there. But and there is their title of it is The Hot Chick, More Like the Woke Chick. This was written by whoever I guess owns Far From Professional. RJF is what it says on the article. But yeah, they talk about like, is this movie more woke than we would have thought, I guess? And it could be a stretch to some folks. However, I do see that there are some points in there where I'm like, yeah, no, I could see the arc with Jessica at least, and
well, but yeah. I think that's going back to what Joe was saying, though. I think again, like it wouldn't have seemed that way back then because these were all meant to be jokes, and they are still jokes today. But we view films like this much differently now than we did 20 years ago.
Yeah, like I think you could make the argument that it's a bit trite that by the end of the film, Jessica has accrued this motley group of women, but
right.
Even though none of them are characters outside of Anna Faris, we do have a fat girl, we have a black girl, we have
biracial girl.
Yeah, like there's a healthy mix, which is the kind of thing where nowadays, if incel white supremacist dudes saw this movie, they would accuse it of being woke and all that other jazz.
Yeah, I could agree with that for sure.
Rob Schneider went turncoat on us.
There we go.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah,
he's sneaking progressive messages into his comedies.
Exactly. Oh. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, moving on from Jessica or whatever, it's cool. Again, I think she has an interesting arc there. What do you guys think about Clive? I didn't really realize that was his name, but thank you for that, Joe.
I mean, literally, I couldn't have told you if I didn't have the Wikipedia page open because as amusing as I think Rob Schneider sometimes is in this movie, sometimes I agree with you, Trace. I think he's actually overplaying it, and it does come off more as a gay caricature as opposed to a woman actually in this person's body. I almost don't consider like him as a man in this movie as a character. So like when I see Rachel McAdams, I see her performance as an actor, but I don't think Clive is an entity in this film because we don't learn anything about him.
He's just a thug who steals from gas stations and eats a lot of nacho cheese.
Yeah.
I do think, like, I don't know. I really do. I mean, like, it's faint praise to say this is Rob Schneider's best performance for me because what do we have to choose from?
Yeah.
I do think he nails a lot of his line deliveries. Like, 100% agreed. He is playing a gay caricature. And I had a similar complaint in Freaky with the Vince Vaughn role. It bothers me less here because this is just a goofier movie. And
it's meant to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, so is Freaky, I would argue, but like there's a seriousness there that I think takes away from that performance.
Agreed.
But like even his facial, whenever April's trying to tell her, like, Jessica, like some people hate you, and he has this face. It's like, so you're saying people think I'm perfect? Like, it's just like a lot of his deliveries really do work. But even though I do agree with you, Joe, I don't think he's much of a character. It's just like I'm honestly kind of seeing Rachel McAdams as a gay man in that role.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Yeah, I can understand that because I think he does, for what it's supposed to be, I think he does a good job at being a gay caricature. I mean, if that's what he was going for, like he does, he does it. I believe it. I believe it. Like I completely believe it. But and sure, but like but yeah, he doesn't have much of an arc, which is kind of the point, obviously. Right. But like, yeah.
But I do think though, and I mean, look, we can discuss what this film would have been like had Anna Faris not been cast in this role. But I think a lot of his comedy is made better because he is playing off of Anna Faris because her facial reactions to everything he does in this movie is A+ comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is. It's so good. Like, yeah. I mean, everything. I mean, so yeah, we have Jessica and Clive. I'm trying to think of any other characters we can kind of talk about in particular. I mean, I personally, as a larger person, I kind of loved Hindenburg. Like,
Hildenberg. Hildenberg's
Hildenberg?
great.
I kind of loved her. She found herself a little boyfriend. That's kind of cute and wonderful. And again, it's feeding into, because of course this movie feeds into stereotypes, but it's feeding into the stereotype that a Black man will be interested in like a bigger white woman and all this,
Yeah.
you know. But again, I think it's laden with stereotypes because that was the 2000s for you.
I mean, isn't she making ice cream sundaes in her chemistry class?
She's making the strawberry. She has the ice cream already, but she makes the strawberry whatever.
It's like she's making the syrup or the topping.
Yeah, because she's the smart girl, but of course she's going to use it to make food because she's fat. But I like her a lot.
Yeah, and fat's not a dirty word on this show at all, ever. Yeah, you're fine. But anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, but like you have her. Again, she's not much of a character, but like, yeah, but you know, I love Alexandra Holden, but like Lulu doesn't do much in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say much about her.
Well, Maritza Murray's Ling Ling gets much more to do than Lulu does. But unfortunately, and admittedly, I do think they're really funny. I'm always really confused by the Maori sisters though, because they really do bully her about her mother's heritage, and then all of a sudden they're like totally fine with it. Like, I don't understand that at all.
Right?
Makes no sense at all.
I know it's a weird one. The one joke that I realized, which I probably never did because I haven't watched this movie in a minute, but like when they're in we'll talk about scenes that we can talk about too, but like the scene in the beginning where they say, "Oh, you look so good," like whatever. And then her mom comes into the classroom. She's like, "Oh, you forgot your lunch." And then she calls her Ling Ling. So she probably never showed that that's her little name that her mom has for her. And they're like, "Ling Ling, somebody needs to answer the phone." And I'm just like, "Oh, I get it. Got it.
Ring, ring."
Yeah, again, Asian stereotypes. So it's like a thing of I probably haven't seen this movie like legit since like the 2000s. I'm not kidding. So like literally, like, you know, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, now I pick up on some of these things, but like you were saying, she's given a whole arc of like, you know, listen, I'm not embarrassed by you. I'm not trying to be embarrassed by you. You're also a teenager dealing with your own kind of biracial identity, if anything. And there is some sort of heart given to that. And then, of course, they have to throw on the fact that the mom has now adopted, you know, the Black culture in a way, says the N-word as well.
Oh, yeah, she does. Yeah. She sure does.
And she also has, hydraulics on her car, which honestly is kind of
see, I find that joke very funny. Like, I recognize
it's really stupid,
deeply offensive and stupid, and then I still laugh at it. And I feel like that's kind of the summation of this film for me, is that a lot of humor I know I shouldn't laugh, and it is offensive to a lot of folks, and then I laugh.
I'm glad we didn't rewatch this, like, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, because I feel like I would have been more in a mindset, given where like we were as a culture, like even 3 or 4 years ago. I feel like I would have been coming down on this movie harder, whereas now I'm kind of like, you know what? I can be aware of its offensiveness and I can still like the movie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And again, to go back to what I was saying a little earlier, I'm just like, oh God, why are we covering this movie? It's not even that. It's literally just that, like, yeah, this is a movie that has something to say in a way. I feel like it does. You know, they didn't just put it out because for funsies, they had wanted to say something, I guess. It's just that for some stuff it works. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to make a body swap movie and they wanted to at least have something of like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? But, you know, yeah, and there's some stuff that really works here, and then there's some stuff where you're like, "Oh, dear Lord!"
Well,
but
here,
you know,
for both of you, give me something, give me a scene, a joke, or whatever that does not work for you in this movie.
The Asian person saying the N-word at the end, that does not work for me. I still just think it's weird and offensive.
I guess it's maybe worse because it's white men writing this movie too.
Yes, that just to me, I'm just like, ooh, that doesn't age well ever.
I'd be interested to know what a Black viewer thinks of that, actually.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Again. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Please write in.
There you go. Yeah.
Do you have anything like that, Joe? Like anything where you're just like, ooh, that does not work? Where you're just like, oh, I don't know if I can give a pass on it. I don't know.
Nothing where I look at it and I say like, holy fuck, that is so offensive. It's more, there are certain things in here, and I have this issue with comedies a lot of the time. Like, I'm very, very candid about the fact that a lot of American comedies don't work particularly well for me. I like dry kind of British humor more often than not. So, but I can see a lot of the funny in a very slapstick, very stupid, very like low bar humor, which is why I like these kinds of films at the end of the day.
Sure.
It's more that I look at it and I can see scenes where they serve no function except to be a punchline. So like the moment where we go to the club to confront Bianca and then we have a dance off, and I'm like, this is stupid. Maybe some of it is funny, but ultimately it's also very pointless.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's also not that funny either, right? I mean, I guess we have some, right? We have some funny stuff with like the clothes coming off, whatever. Sure. I guess for me, even, and this isn't even like an offensive joke, but it's like of the time. So like whenever Bianca gets tackled by the security guards, and you have like the 80-yard line, "Let's go, Winona." The joke itself isn't funny to me, but the fact that it's 80-yard in there, that makes it funny for me.
The other one
like
that
we were
really
waiting to find a celebrity that we could name drop, and it was like, oh, I guess in between when the film got made and when it gets released, or we're finishing the sound, it's like, yeah, okay, this happened. Let's get that in there.
I also think like, I was gonna say, the one that got me on that was her friend, because Rachel McAdams asked her like, "Oh, Bianca, you're looking so thin nowadays. Are you just eating less or barfing more?" And then her friend just answers
Ashley Simpson.
At least she was able to say that. That's really nice. She didn't have to lip sync it. It's great. It's fine. Anyway, continue what you were saying, Trace.
No, actually, it's funny that was the one I was going to bring up. But yeah, we're making fun of eating disorders in this movie, which is not something that would fly today.
Right.
Oh yeah, no. Oh gosh. Anyway, yeah. But I mean, to say all that too, like, are there any particular scenes that you guys just really enjoy and love in this movie too? Like that you're just like, oh.
I mean, I like things that jump out at me. I love the rhyme they do. The boys are cheats and liars. They're such a big disgrace. I love the pillow fight scene.
Yes. See, that kind of over the top physical comedy works so well for me, because we get hints of how strong she is and she doesn't realize it because she's all my own. But those kinds of things where you're like, this doesn't even make any kind of logical sense. But also we're so obviously doing it with wire foo. It's just like there's a multiple check marks going off in that scene.
Well, like there's the face of Lulu whenever she gets it in the stomach and she's like, oh. I mean, so with the physical comedy, then like, what about when Rob Schneider like is confessing to April and she falls down all the bleachers, and I feel like it goes on for like 30 seconds.
Oh, it's so good. That is like good for me. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I do like that.
Especially when there's a pause and then you keep going because you're like, I think it's over. And then it doesn't. It keeps going.
She slips. He or she slips on the snowball and just keeps falling.
I love the gag about, I love snowballs. That's my favorite hostess treat. And so to have them slandered so viciously in this movie is really upsetting. I actually, all the stuff with Rob Schneider and the parents is really good.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I mean, again, it's offensive because we're just making fun of Mexican helpers and that kind of stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
My husband's Mexican. He said it was fine. It gets a pass.
It's fine. It's okay. Ari is our voice on all things diversity.
Yeah, he speaks for all Latin Americans.
There we go.
Just saying. Just putting it out there.
Do you think it's odd that Jessica's mom latches on to Rob Schneider's character when it looks like he's going down on her husband, and that's what excites her?
Yeah.
It's such a weird, I'm like, oh, I guess now you see him as a sexual entity, but you're like, well, if he's giving my husband head, or so I think, then I should definitely try to make a move over this dinner table.
What? There you go.
It doesn't make any kind of logical sense, but comes to the movie.
Is she like a reverse like female cuck kind of a thing? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
again, like this feels like a very airplane gag. And it's like it's not even like a big one, but like whenever Rachel McAdams is sneaking out of the house and the dad's reading the Playboy centerfold and the mom's reading like Germs Weekly and she has a centerfold.
Right, yeah. I also do appreciate just some of the like when obviously Jessica turns into a man and like every time she has to introduce herself of like, hey, this is what's happening. Every woman just wants to see her their penis pretty much. And I'm just like, yeah, that's fair. That's true to reality.
The whole running gag with April's mom, everything from the soap to her here. I found Jessica's body.
Oh yeah. That was also fun. Yeah, there are some things like now that I think about it. I mean, there are some stuff. There is some stuff in here that does work quite a bit. And I'm just like, wow, you know what? This is dumb comedy, but you know what? I'm not mad at that.
I will
cool
say
with that.
The pacing. And again, I mean, this isn't like a super long movie, but the pacing always it slows down for me whenever we're doing stuff with the boys. So when it's like Matthew Lawrence and Eric Christian Olsen, I do like the scene in the locker room where Rob Schneider keeps like calling Eric Christian Olsen names, like asshole, someone should. But it's like I'm like, no, this is not interesting because the girls are where the funny is at in this movie,
right? Yeah, because Eric Christian Olsen just says how gay that Matthew Lawrence is. I was like, okay, that's great. Yeah,
that's what we did in 2002.
Yeah, and again, I'm not the police on using the F word or whatever. I've said it on this podcast. I've said it in my real life, whatever. But again, I at least appreciate they didn't go that route. So I was at least happy. I was like, oh, there's no F slur in here. Great.
I think that's kind of my thing is, again, like I knew this is going to be an offensive movie walking into it because I've obviously seen this before, but it was far less homophobic than I was expecting it to be, which again, may be faint praise, but I didn't walk out of this feeling attacked.
No,
yeah,
and
it's
that's
gently there in the same way that we're making fun of literally everything else.
Yeah, it's fair. That's totally fair. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Those are some scenes that and I think we already asked the question of like, what are some scenes that don't work? Did you answer that question, Trace? Like, did you have something where you're like, wow, this really didn't work?
No, this is a 4-star movie for me, y'all. Sorry. But there's no scene where I'm like, no, nothing in this scene is working. But again, like every time we cut over to the boyfriends, I'm just kind of like, let's go back to the girls, please.
That's fair. Yeah, no, it's totally fair. And like I said, a lot of that stuff is just like, there's not super gay panic in this movie, but like at the same time, you're just like, oh, shut up, Eric Christian Olsen. I don't remember your name.
I guess that's the thing, right? Because Billy does find out that that Jessica is in this man's body, and there's a scene where they try to kiss, and he just cannot do it because he is so repulsed at the thought of kissing a man.
Yeah. Which, if we're comparing and contrasting something like Freaky, I think that was one of those scenes in that movie that people really appreciated. Is that it wasn't this is disgusting. It's I'm in love with the person who's in the body, not the body itself. And I think that's just the level of progressiveness that we managed to achieve in, the 15 plus years in between these two films.
Yeah. And I'm definitely not excusing that in this film, but I'm definitely like it was 2002.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like the fact that we even tried it apart from the fact to get a gay panic response. Like 100%. That's basically what Lawrence's whole role in this movie is.
Absolutely. I mean, he straight up vomits.
He does.
at the pep rally whenever the mask comes off.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's just, there is that perfect kind of like, there is some good like slapstick in here too, which I do appreciate as well.
Yeah, like the fact that Jessica is obviously the captain of the cheerleading team, so she would be at the top of the pyramid, but also she's in Rob Schneider's body. So the image of all of these teenage girls having to hold up a grown man is just like, this is stupid, and I'm laughing.
Oh, and I love that they put Hildenberg in the cheerleading formation now. The days are coming. The days are coming. The days are coming.
Yeah, she shows that slit. Yeah, I know. I love it. It's great. She's her new boyfriend is just like, yeah, you go, baby. I was like, good for her. I love that. We love Hindenburg. We love Hildenberg. I keep calling her Hindenburg. The whole point of
it feels like that is the joke, though.
It is the joke. It's the joke that she's a blend. Yeah, they probably called her
like a weird, mean-spirited missed opportunity.
I think so too. You're right. Yeah, no, totally, for sure. Yeah, I think there's that. We did talk a little bit about just like how queer do we feel like this movie is. So I guess if anything, like, do you feel like there is this sort of queer reading in the movie or like any sort of trans reading in the movie? I think we talked a little bit offline about that, but I would like to just see if you had any kind of like thoughts on like, does this have a trans reading? Does this have a queer reading?
I mean, I think you could argue that any movie has a trans reading as long as you're backing it up with stuff. But I think this one is more explicit. Like, yes, there's clearly a trans reading in this movie. Now, were the filmmakers trying to make any kind of bold statements with this? I don't think so in any shape, way, or form. But I think, if you're a trans youth watches this movie and they get something positive out of it, then yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I get more of a bisexual or a lesbian reading out of this because of the way that Anna Faris reacts to Rob Schneider / Jessica. Like that to me is the more interesting story because she does seem to legitimately be interested in Jessica in this man's body whose penis she continually wants to see. So if there is like a blurring of a trans / bisexual awakening in those moments, I think that's more interesting because like Clive doesn't seem to have learned anything from his time within Jessica's body except for the fact that he can make money doing sex work.
Yeah.
And Jessica doesn't seem to have learned anything about being in a man's body except that she really wants to fuck her boyfriend.
Well, no, she learned that she was a bitch, and it's mean when people are nice to you because you're not conventionally attractive.
Exactly.
I don't know. That seems less gendered to me and more like a personality piece.
Sure.
That's fair. Yeah. And there has to be some kind of lesson you'd learn from a body swap movie generally as well. So, I mean, that's in there somewhere. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? Freaky Friday's like, no, you have to like learn a lesson before you can switch back. This one is just like, no, just bring the earrings back. These genuine artifact earrings that made their way to a local shop in an outlet mall.
Yeah, a specifically African shop as well. Yeah.
Also, these girls wouldn't be walking into this shop.
No.
Oh, I know, right? But she was just intrigued. Jessica was just intrigued. She was just like, I'm gonna go in there.
Oh, a gag that I do like though is when Adam Sandler's playing those drums and you think it's diegetic music, but then it's you think it's non-diegetic and then it becomes diegetic.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, Angie Stone, shout out to her. She plays the cashier in there. It's really good.
Oh, because she plays the cat lady in Mr. Deeds.
She does.
Oh, there we go. So she has ties to the Happy Gilmore family.
Mr. Deeds is one of the better Adam Sandler movies.
Yes, of course.
How many shoplifting jokes are we making in that film?
Actually, I don't think we make very many. Also, I'm totally wrong. She's not in Mr. Deeds, but there is another woman in Mr. Deeds. It's really funny.
So you're just being racist because there's a black woman in that one?
Basically, yes. That's you got my number. You got my number.
Oh, lordy lord. No, she's been in other things too, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Trace, you confused your black characters.
Oh no. I am also the same person who really did think Jodie Long and Rosalind Chow were like the same person for like a minute when I was like 10. So
we're full of racists here, Joe. What's your racist thing?
Yeah. God. No, it's dear God. Anyway,
my racist thing is just that I think everyone is Canadian. Does that work?
No, that's nationalist.
God damn it.
I honestly, though, I will say that, I mean, anything Canada, I tend to just want to bring to Joe's attention. I did specifically tell him, I just confronted him about that, where I watched a literal documentary about Mr. Dressup on Amazon. And I was like, why did this documentary almost pretty much make me cry? And like, you need to explain yourself. Not because
Mr. Dressup.
Yeah, not because you have a. It's really just because you were Canadian. I was like, why did this almost do that?
Yeah.
So you're just like at least my authority on everything Canadian. So I mean, there you go. I'm trying to think what we could do to wrap up or whatever. I think if anything, I think the cult status of this movie too, because again, my show is about cult movies generally. Although I kind of stray a little bit, depending.
Sure,
but I do think this does have a bit of a cult following in a way. I think just being a part of the Happy Gilmore, oeuvre, if you will, kind of lends itself to that. Same way as how the House Bunny, I think, has a cult following. obviously something like The Wedding Singer, I think, has one as well. Things like that, I mean, so there is that for sure. I think if anything, like you were saying earlier, Trace, like I think this movie probably did do well on like home video sales / on demand, things like that people could access it.
I mean, it may very well too be like our like general age group. Like I actually would be very curious to know if the younger, like if Gen Z has like discovered this movie, and if so, what they think of it. But like, I mean, again, I remember this being not like the biggest thing in the world, but like I had like a lot of people talking about this. Like this would have come out the Christmas of my 8th grade year. So yeah, I wasn't even in high school yet. And like, I mean, middle school boys, like, of course you want to go see the new Rob Schneider movie.
The Hot Chick by Rob Zombie.
Yes, let's get that movie into production immediately.
No, I don't want to keep seeing naked Sherry Moon Zombie. I can't do it.
Oh my God, you know that she would be playing the Jessica role, right?
Oh, absolutely. And she would have no clothes on the whole movie, Joe.
I'm fine with that. Let Sherry Moon Zombie play Jessica. And then it's Richard Brake in the Rob Schneider role.
Right.
Oh, God. Well, that's going to be a whole different kind of movie, though. That's a whole thing. I think this movie does have that cult following, though, because again, there also are people who could read into it of like, what the hell was this movie that was like kind of released by Disney a little bit? But yeah, I mean, but there are, I think, some people who do have like this affinity for it and they enjoy it. It's one of those body swap movies that I think, if anything, does a better job than some other ones did. I put it above It's a Boy Girl Thing because at least they don't
good
at the end. Because that's what happens in It's a Boy Girl Thing is that they fall in love in the end, and I'm just like, I don't feel like that was the point. I don't feel like that was the point.
Have we moved out of the era of calling things guilty pleasures? Because I feel like this is something that someone would call a guilty pleasure, but I feel like we don't say that anymore.
I feel like
we learn to embrace the idea that if you like something, you can just say you like it and you don't have to apologize for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that too. And again, that is part of what a cult movie is to me, at least. And, you can have that. And again, like, sure. Like, and I've covered all sorts of movies that kind of fit into that and whatever. You guys do it sometimes too. So, I mean, it's something to say of like, that's why this has that. Yeah, I think overall this movie does work. It's a 3-star movie for me. I think there are some really heavy hitting good things in it, but then there's some stuff that you're like, oh God. But overall, I wouldn't not rewatch it. Like, I would still rewatch it.
Slap it on the poster.
Yeah, I wouldn't not rewatch it. Like, it's fine.
I love this movie. I think this movie's so funny. Like, it's just a blast to watch. And again, I'm sure like me growing up with it, like this being one of the comedies I did watch a lot in my middle school and high school years is playing a factor in that. But I think I'm just most pleasantly surprised that I didn't walk away from this being like, oh God, like how could I have liked this when I was younger?
Right.
I mean, I do think it has a good hit-miss ratio in terms of not just the jokes that work versus like the jokes that don't work because they're too offensive or they just haven't aged well. But like there is wordplay in here. There's physical comedy. There's like a surprisingly progressive message. So I do think if people hadn't watched this film and they were discovering it for the first time now, yeah, some of this is going to absolutely not fly if you're at all like woke, progressive, liberal, whatever have you. But I think there's a lot more here than people would typically give credit. Like, if you like comedies with heart, I do think that this falls in line with some of the other ones that we've mentioned throughout this episode. Like, there's good things to be found here. And it's not just like, oh, fuck, it's that Rob Schneider body swap movie.
That's the thing is like, if you read reviews of this, again, like critics hated it. They panned the fuck out of this. And
it's so ridiculous.
But I was like, they're calling this like lazy. And I'm like, I actually like this movie's a lot of things. I actually don't think it's lazy. I mean, we mentioned the wire foo and the pillow. Like, you should do that. Like, I do think there's a genuine effort on screen here.
I agree. Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. Yeah. We're not talking about the Rob Zombie version that we made up, but if this was to get made today, which again, it probably wouldn't, but who would you want to play Jessica and Clive, honestly?
Oh God. See, I'm so out of touch that it would probably be like some current Disney girl. And I'd be like, I don't know who that is.
Oh, true. You have anything to say, Trace?
I don't know. I'm literally Googling like, who are popular older male actors?
God.
But I guess in that guy, who's like a big comedian nowadays? Who does these kind of comedy movies now? Comedy movies,
God.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Ooh.
I mean,
But
I
guess
think
it's
it would
because-
be funny to do it with like an actually gay male. So maybe do like one of the guys from Fire Island that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I'm actually not opposed to that.
Oh, okay. Maybe y'all are gonna hate me for this, but what about Billy Eichner?
Yeah.
I
Or
think
like-
he has like that grading factor that some people find in Rob Schneider.
How
Sure.
about Bowen Yang?
I would watch that. Absolutely.
I would probably watch that, honestly. I'm not the hugest Billy Eichner person, but I
No,
could.
no,
I see
most
the
people
vision.
are not.
I see the
Speaking of
vision.
divisive.
I like him. Like Difficult People is like one of those like top 10 like comedies of all time for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could do Bowen Yang. But for
Bowen
the girl, that's where we're all aged out of that, I think.
Mhm.
Like, who's the Rachel McAdams of today? Like, oh God. This is
Well,
even
I mean, we could check for Renee Rapp because she's got that Regina George role in the Mean Girls musical coming out.
God.
Hey,
Yeah, but
listen.
she's too old for that.
Yeah, she definitely is. It's really funny, right? It's very much a Dear Evan Hansen situation, but I guess because it's not a serious movie, like if we get away with it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's coming out soon. You're hearing this in December, so that will be coming to theaters at some point soon, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? The male lead, it could be that guy from Dear Evan Hansen. He'd be great.
Ben Platt.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
He's so old.
What else has he
Geez.
got going on?
What about what about that little gay boy that was in that the Booksmart guy, that one little gay boy in that? Noah Galvin. Wow, why did I not know his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's he dating again? He's dating some other man.
He's dating Ben Platt. I think they're married now,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Actually, that would be the other thing we would do. We would actually have to have like one of the leads would have to be a racialized figure. And I think we would probably flip it to make it more interesting. So have like a teenage boy go into an adult woman's body.
That's fair.
Oh, I would. You'd have to have female creators on that one.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
And keep the keep the whole like, I've got boobs, I've got a vagina, let me insert things into them, and that like keep that out.
Also, good luck with Noah Galvin. He's currently has a main role in The Good Doctor.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, good for him. Good for him and Freddie Highmore, I guess. Good.
Get that money, girl. Get that money.
Get that money. I like gays doing good.
Actually, the funny you always talk about like gay cess, like gay incest. Noah Galvin also played Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway when Ben Platt left.
Do you think that they role play the role in the bedroom? Like how you play Evan?
I think about it a lot. You can also find, I'm not like revenge porning stuff, but you can totally find his dick pictures online because they have been leaked.
Of course you can.
Noah Galvin's?
Yeah, Noah Galvin.
Oh, good. That's also like you can find Dustin Lance Black's complete.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a good penis, by the way.
It is a good penis. That's correct.
I just like, it's always the thing where it's like, if you're a select, Noah Galvin's pics, I think are from like Grindr or Scruff or something. And I'm always like, how would you be like a famous person?
You could not.
Well, I mean, you can, your dick's going to get shown to everyone on the internet.
Exactly.
But also, if that, sorry, we are detouring so fucking far off
that's
now, but
fine.
Part of me is like, okay, so why haven't I seen Matt Bomer's dick? Like, why haven't I seen
right?
Zachary Quinto's dick? Like, all the people I actually want to see their penises, where are those pictures?
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, Matt Bomer's been married since 2011, so that's probably why.
Yeah. You can find that nice Cheyenne Jackson one where he's jerking off. That's a
I've definitely seen that
one.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Clearly, I need my boyfriend.
That's true.
That's what he says.
Dustin Lance Black. He has his nudes out there. He takes dick really well too. It's very nice. It's a whole thing, y'all. Just saying, like, I want a Daniel Franzesi's like little nude slit. I'm just saying, like, I'd be down for that, but
yeah, you gotta think he's out there whoring it up. Come on.
Sure.
Exactly. He's like the mayor of like West Hollywood. So I mean, come on, Daniel. Like,
Do you think him and Jonathan Bennett ever fucked on the set of Mean Girls, though?
No, I don't think so, personally. I'm also feel really bad for Jonathan Bennett because that when his husband was on The Real Friends of West Hollywood or whatever.
Oh, that terrible show. Yeah.
You know that he was like, you better not have me on the show. You better not. And then I think he was kind of on it a little bit, but he was like, no, it's just because we're married. But like, I'm not taking part in the shenanigans. Like, I can't do it. Like, they had that bitchy conversation. They did.
Like, I actually make Hallmark movies, so I'm still somewhat respectable. Right. You, on the other hand, you are Melissa Rivers. You have no talent.
Anyway, we're just chit-chatting at this point. But again, the hot chick. There you go.
Good movie, watching. Funny movie. Seek it out.
Yes, please. Yes. And also, you know what you came here for, okay? Listen, I just want to thank Trace and Joe. Thank you guys so much for coming on my show today. Otherwise, we would just be on here, like, talking about gay things for hours. But I do appreciate you guys coming on. It makes more sense now of why you all chose this, and I'm glad that it was chosen because, again, like, this is a movie that I both like and sometimes not like all the time, but I'm glad that this conversation was had. I think this is a fun film. Seek it out. It's Disney, so it's a gigantic corporation, but you know what? Listen, I don't know. Like, if you want to pirate it, go ahead. Like, I don't mind with Disney stuff.
No, Rob Schneider needs your money.
Rob Schneider does need your money.
Does he, though?
He's a terrible person.
But as you normally would do, plug your shit. Where can people find you, listen to you, all that good stuff?
All right. So new episodes of Horror Queers comes out every Wednesday. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/horrorqueers. And I personally can be reached at B Stole My Remote, and that's the letter B.
And I can be reached at Trace D as in dog Thurman. Everywhere.
Or D as in Dick.
Or D as in Dick. True. Yes.
Yeah. Go follow them. Go follow them on the socials. They're fun to, I follow both of you and you all are super fun to follow. And then also, check out the Horror Queers. I'm on an episode of where we covered All About Evil. I will probably be back on the show at some point. And it's a fun time. They've literally been doing this for like 5 years now, I think, just about. So, y'all are cutting construction paper and tying your shoes, which I really appreciate and love.
We can't drink like this movie, but we'll get there.
No, you'll get there at some point. But I just want to thank you all so much for coming on, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. And thank you so much. And also, because you're hearing this in December, I hope you guys have a nice, happy holiday, of course.
Same to you.
Excellent.
As always, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so via email at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com in case you want to give any movie or episode recommendations, give feedback on the show, or if you'd like to just say, hey, I'm open to all of it. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, you can do so on Instagram and Instagram threads at cultcinemacircle. I tend to post what I'll be covering for the next week on there, post stories, things like that. On X, I'm at cultcinemacircle. On there, I don't really post a whole lot, but if you want to follow the show, it's there for you to follow. And then on Letterboxd, I'm at Jesse, Jesse, Kremp, Kremp, all one word. On there, I log little movie reviews, I'll log what I'm watching, and then it's also a nice way to kind of see what I might be covering on the show in the future. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast on your podcatcher of choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm pretty much on all of them. Be sure to leave 5 stars and a 1 to 2 sentence review about the show so we can grow the audience and then just spread the love all around. Be sure to tune in next week to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, where I'll be covering 2018's Santa Jaws. Trying to survive his family Christmas, Cody makes a wish to be alone, which ends up backfiring when a shark manifests and kills his entire family. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, and remember, you should get more than twice, you're playing with it. Take care. Bye.